Something went happen then. Okay. Okay. We've done it.
Bunsen burner. Yeah, that was a bit painful because I'm like, actually wet stuff down. No, not that one. The other one.
Oh, bloody hell, that's all right then.
30.
Somebody. When what's come up, mate? That comment? Yep, it's there. Oh, Rusty. Oh yeah, Jason. Eh? Okay. Okay. Well, I just start talking, do I? What now?
Yeah,
Oh, hello. This is Thailand calling. Well, it's been absolutely unbelievable, really, that Clive has invited me on tonight because I've been watching the live feeds avidly lately. I've seen anglers like Bob Nudd, Tom Pickering, Andy May the other night was fantastic, and then you've got to look at a funny looking ginger bloke for maybe an hour. But I'll do my best. And at 8 p.m. here in Thailand. Basically, I've been a Thai angler now for 15 years, and it's a fantastic life. Started off a Devon boy, and started off fishing the Tiverton Canal for bream and tench and pike in the winter, and then trotting a stick float down the River Tone, catching chub and roach and dace, and so it's mainly sort of all-round fishing, and then went into the club matches. Had a little bit of success on the Tiverton club matches. How you doing, Lee? What's happening? And Jason, hey, get in. There are people watching. Brilliant. And yeah, so it was a very modest start. I sort of lovely pike fishing. I was lucky enough to catch a 23-pound 6-ounce pike when I was 9 years old with my dad, and I do miss it in a way. You know, the English fishing is totally different to the Thai fishing, and it'd be nice to be back there. It's a shame this year not to get back because of the situation at the moment. I usually get back for July and enjoy sitting next to a commercial with Dad, catching a few skimmers on the pole, and get a roast lamb from Mother as well. Also gutted this year. Shout out to Edward Murray and his fiancée Jodie, who are going to have their wedding this year, and that's been pushed back to next year. So gutted for them, but we'll do it bigger and better next year. And well, back to the fishing. Yeah, so we sort of started progressing up towards the Somerset levels, sort of feeder fishing for bream, and again pike and tench fishing, and in the Bristol Avon, the Severn, and Hampshire Avon, trying to catch some barbel, and loved it up at Bewdley when we were quite young, enjoying the first barbel we'd ever caught. And then sort of as it went on, I decided by chance to move to Thailand when I was 27, and been out here ever since. And the fishing in Thailand is completely different to the fishing in the UK. The power of the fish is incredible, and you start off catching the striped catfish and the Mekong catfish, and then progress on, and you sort of look for the smaller species in a lot of waters to try and recapture the type of fishing you have in England, and you end up catching the Java barb, which are very similar to the roach, the rohu, which are like a chub crossed with a mullet, really, which power off very hard. And then you've got your bigger species with your Siamese carp and your red tails and the imported species as well. And it's interesting. It's all pretty much all commercial fishing. The wild fishing here is very difficult. It's big scale. It's almost like chucking a 6-ounce lead into the Bristol Channel off Minehead or Watchet Pier, and you're sort of just putting big balls of bait out and trying to catch the fish that are in the reservoirs. But in 2015, I hang on, end. What's that? If you be able to close it, come on. Oh, I see. Forget that. Something popped up on the screen. I'm not very good with technology. And yeah, 2015, Gary Brown found a little lake that we fished. There wasn't a lot in it, but it was a beautiful spot, and ended up taking it on and turning it into a nice little fishery on the outskirts of Pattaya, which is about 2 hours south of Bangkok. It's renowned for its party vibe, which is quite nice. You can take it or leave it, and opened up a little lake called Castaway Fishing Park, which I thoroughly enjoyed setting up, stocking, and meeting lots of great people, creating great memories. And that was where I met Clive Branson. You might have heard of him. Cracking fella. He walked into the lake one day, not long after I had opened, and we got on like a house on fire. They talk about the language of love, but I think the language of fishing is more universal. And we started chatting about different rigs, different tactics of sort of fishing we've done. And Clive used to fish the Huntsbill and the King Surgical Drain up on the Somerset levels, places where me and my dad used to fish, and probably fished against Dad in a few matches over the course of time. And the first time Clive came in, he sort of said he wanted to fish a certain way, which was quite a light rod and 4 or 5 pound line. And I said, why don't we have a little head-to-head competition? I probably should have let on that the fish in the lake were a little bit too big to handle the 4 or 5 pound line that he was using, but I thought I had to seize the opportunity to see if I can get one up on Clive Branson, the legend, and so it was. The match was quite entertaining. Even the Rohu Carp, 6 or 7 pound fish, can charge off that fast. They'll break 15 pound line on the take. You know, it's completely different to the UK fishing. The fish here have got so much power and pace, even at quite small sizes. And Clive was smashed up 4 or 5 times, and I chipped away, and can't remember what I finished with, but it was more than Clive had, which I bet he's very chuffed that I mentioned. And then we moved on from there to a fishing lake called Wilf's Fishing Park, which we lost a couple of years ago through development. And that was a fantastic little fishery. Wilf ran it very, very well. It had a lot of common carp, like we know in the UK, and there was a lot of tilapia, which are very similar to our perch. And it was a cracking little match. Wilf used to run it very well. The problem in Thailand is that the fish are so active that you can't really use keep nets, because they will get so stressed out in that hot water, probably low oxygenated water because of the heat, and the fish would probably suffer in the keep nets. So generally you wouldn't use the keep nets. And so Wilf or Tony, who was helping him, would walk around, weigh each individual fish, record it, and then at the end of the match, you'd have a first and second normally, and very often we'd have a biggest fish prize, which was worth maybe a fifth or a quarter of the total pools. And that was nice, because quite often you'd have people on holiday or just anglers that didn't fish a lot and were fairly inexperienced. So if you're getting battered and you're there to have a bit of fun, it was nice to have something to fish for towards the end of the match. So very often those anglers would then go for a red tail or Siamese carp and try and win the biggest fish and win a bit of money. The more winners, the better. And then we sort of moved on from there to once Wilf was shut down, Wasana opened. Craig Hartwell opened Wasana, and also Amazon Giant was opened. And there it was a bit more tricky, because the fish were a bigger size and much more valuable species, probably with a lot of Siamese carp and red tails and leopard catfish. And we went on to a system where you had the most species. So if you caught one of each species, that counted as a point. And again, the biggest fish to give everybody a chance at the last minute. And it works very well, because you manage to not stress the fish out, and they're released back into the water, and hopefully they'll be fine. And we've sort of moved on from the specimen fishing. Onto the specimen fishing. We've got some fantastic big fish waters in Thailand, arguably the best in the world. You've got from the north, you've got Teak Tree Resort run by Bruce, and you come down to Udon. You've got Lex in Udon, and Siamese Carp Fishing Lakes run by Ian. Dougie's got Lex. That's a fantastic fishery. All of it's very accessible because you've got an airport in Pattaya now, which takes you only about an hour pretty much to every fishing park around. And then as you work down through, you've got sort of Bung Samran in Bangkok, which is the original Thai run fishing park where we do a fair bit of fishing at the moment. And Palm Tree Lagoon in Ratchaburi, where I was very, very lucky last year to land a carp that's regarded as the biggest in the world at 232 pounds. And yeah, cheers for that, Gary. Nice little message. And that was fantastic. Just before I went back to England last year for my yearly sabbatical, and I really milked it, and it was a fantastic experience catching a fish like that. You don't really expect it. You know they're in there. You give yourself a chance to go into the waters where they are, but to get it was just unbelievable. And then you've got where else you got? You've got around Hua Hin and Chatham. You've got Greenfields. And Barry Gregory's got a place there called Elton View, and there's a place where we fished just recently called Jurassic Mountain Fishing Resort, and very, very fortunate once again. A fish the very first day I've ever fished it. I hooked a fish at about 5 o'clock. It took me about an hour to get in. That one was a Siamese carp known as Scarface, which was around in 180 pound, 180, 190 pound, and that was unbelievable as well. So I've just been very, very lucky. Add to that a very large arapaima that I had out of Palm Tree that would have been well over 500 pounds. It's just been a cracking run, and myself and as he's known now, Dangerous Dan, have started a YouTube channel called The Overrated Angler. So like and subscribe, where everybody's welcome, and we'd be chuffed with the following. And we're lucky enough to get the fight of the 180 pound Siamese carp on film at Jurassic in Chatham, and we've made some other videos demonstrating some of the other waters, some of the smaller Thai waters that are around Pattaya. There are lakes that are sort of £1 or £2 to fish. It sounds very cheap. And it sounds very unusual, but the main way they make money here is by basically stocking mainly tilapia, the ones that look a bit like a perch. And then when they're caught, you'd stock them for sort of 35 baht a kilo, which is about 80 pence a kilo. And then people would catch them, take them home to eat. It sounds crazy to us, and it is a bit of a shock when you first come and see them going home, especially some of the nicer species which you just wish were left behind, but you've got to accept that's the way it is here. And so they'll keep stocking them, and it's a good little money earner. But in some of these lakes, some of the fish have thrived on neglect, and we managed to get a lovely 60-odd pound Mekong catfish out of one of them the other day that was probably in there for years. We did a video, had a video with that, and we've done several at Bung Samran, which are quite interesting, and some other smaller lakes. We've done one at Wasana and one at Freddy's Fishing Park. But yeah, click onto the channel, have a look. We've only just started, but we're having a go. So a lot of the fishing around the Thai waters are done for food. So very often they've got 3 or 4 hooks on, barbed hooks, and fish are taken home. So when you go there and catch a nice fish and put it back, they look at you like you're a little bit mental. But it's nice to put them back and catch them again every now and again. Oh, hang on, I've got a question. Here we go. Ricky Gray, I have a question. Now that your world record holder has been smashed by yourself, and the experience of Thai fishing, how likely do you think it is that there's even bigger carp out there? Also, second part, did you specifically set out to land a world record, or was it a happy accident? I can confirm it was a happy accident. As I said before, you fish the waters where you know they are, but to get one is very, very much down to luck, and and it was absolutely superb. Is there a bigger Siamese carp in Thailand? I think no doubt. There's lots of, you know, rivers and natural waters and lakes where they've managed to again thrive on neglect, and I don't doubt it at all. It's incredible. They've got this huge bucket mouth with this intricate network of gills, which is designed to basically filter the protein out of the water every time they breathe. So the reason they get so big is because they're eating 24 hours a day, the same as the Mekong catfish and the Chinese big egg carp. They're all filter feeders, and they just get huge. We're very fortunate that we live in a country where there's huge fish. I've got down to your Jurassic, and then as you go further down the coast, you've got EFT, Exotic Fish in Thailand, run by Mike Bailey, around Phuket area. You've got Top Cats in Koh Samui, and you've also got the one that's very well known is Gillam's in Krabi, which I fished a few times between 2005 and 2013, I think it was, and that's been well documented lately with the Quarter boys going down there and having a fantastic time. And it's similar to Jurassic and EFT. It's luxury standard fishing. Palm Tree is slightly different. It's not quite luxury standard, but if you just want probably the biggest fish to go for, Palm Tree is probably the one to go for. Let me see. Is there anything worth catching in Mai? Well, yeah, Chiang Mai is very good, Rusty. Again, Teak Tree. I think you've got Dream Lake, and we went to a lovely little place called Bung Pai Farm, which is in a place called Pai. Bit of a bugger to get to. It's about a 3-hour drive in a minibus over the mountain, and it's just winding and winding. But it was nice. It was more of a chilled out sort of vibe really than the fishing. Got another question here. The main difference between UK fishing and Thai fishing. The main difference, I would have said, the way that the fish feed is very different because of the warm water and the nature of the fish here. A lot of them are very active, which is why I like to use very buoyant baits. Tim at Palm Tree calls me Mr. Punch because I took the bread punch to Palm Tree and done okay on it. But I've been using it on the matches, fishing up in the water with a little waggler, fishing about 2 foot deep, 18 inches deep, with a little bit of bread punch and feeding slop. The ground bait you get here is almost like a flour. It's a very fine meal of rice husk, and you just turn that into a slop, throw it around your float, and it's absolutely fantastic. The takes are rip roaring, and you can catch them very quickly, and it's great for the match if you can get them going like that. Another method, which is a little bit more crude, and I've always wondered if it would work in England, is called the method float. Slightly different to the UK method float. This one is quite a big foam float, which acts as a boat rig, a floating boat rig, effectively, and it comes down to a feeder set whatever depth you want using a stopper above the float, and then you've got a ball of ground bait which is not too firm, that will break down slowly. That's leaving a trickle of bait going down, cascading down, and underneath you've got your hook length with about 4 to 6 inches long, with a piece of bread punch on, or even a wafter or a piece of fake corn, something like that. And the fish are feeding in the cloud, and they just take it. That works from tiny little fish, tiny java barb, right up to the 400 or 500 pound Mekong at Palm Tree. It's a fantastic method. It does look strange, and you think that's not right, but it's effective. It works. It's not the prettiest, and it's not the most satisfying, but it is very effective over here. As is the lump ball on the bottom, really, if you for the bigger Siamese carp generally. And the way I caught the two really big Siamese at Palm Tree and Jurassic were on the method ball, basically, a 2-ounce feeder with a great big ball of bait, which probably loads up the feeder even more for the boat rig effect. And then off that you've got a 8-10 inch hook length with 2 Nutcracker urban baits, Nutcracker pop-ups. Give a little plug. I think they're fantastic, and then basically the fish are just sucking in the cloud and drawing it in. I think the double 12 mil seem to work better than a single 18 or a single 15. I think possibly when they're ejecting it, because of the shape, it helps move the hook around a bit more instead of going straight in and out on a round bait. I think having the double baits on seems to make a fair difference. Got a question there. John Nicholson. Where is he? I've lost him. What is the capital of Canada? Nice one. Ontario? I don't know. Quebec? Something a little bit more serious. What size hook length do you use in different situations? How much difference do you think it makes? Yeah, well, that's interesting. John Nicholson's a good friend. He was up at Bugsamran last week when he fished through the night, and he had some fantastic fish. Almost don't need to ask that question. He battered us, really. We didn't have an awful lot through the day. But I've been going to slightly longer hook lengths. I think for the bigger fish, I think going towards a more 10 to 12-inch hook length. I like to have a size 14 Gamakatsu on, especially at Bugsamran, on 80-pound braid. 2-ounce feeder, and just a little tiny weight that I've made myself, sliding weight between two stoppers, so you can adjust the height of the pop up. You want that so the pop ups are almost trying to lift that up, neutral buoyancy, but with the hook hanging down nicely, a KD rig or an ordinary knot snot. And I think just keep it simple, and just keep banging it in the same area, and just time on the bank, really. Same with any specimen fishing. All the people that have caught specimen fish have just spent a lot of time there, and that's why they've caught a lot, and just doing it right and beat their loads. But the Bugsamran, it's an incredible lake. It's about 20 acres, and it's a very harsh environment. You are basically on either a pier or a set of bungalows, and the fish are able to dive back in under. So you've really got to gear up. I bought some rods from Gillam's, and I've had them cleaned up and had new eyes put on them, and I've shortened by 10 inches to make them just over 10 foot. And when you hook these big fish, the Siamese carp that are around 100 pound, or even the Mekong catfish between 50 and 120 pound, they'll just dive under the platform. And if you haven't got the beefed up gear to take them on, then they'll just finish you off. It seems heavy, but when it comes to the crunch, if you haven't got it, you're usually seen off, and it's not a very nice feeling. Question, John. Jason Weimer, what a legend. That was a cracking fish you had the other day, mate. Siamese carp get massive in Thailand. Why don't common or mirror carp get big there? That's a cracking question, mate. I believe after speaking to Stuart down at Gillam's when we first went down there, he explained that the temperature in Thailand is optimum for them to spawn continually. So they're always putting their food source into producing eggs and spawning, rather than putting their effort into growing. It is a bit of an anomaly, because you do get some big carp in hot countries in Europe, but they just don't seem to thrive here. Whether there's a method of sexing them and always having the same, having all males or all females, or doing something like that to have a specialist lake here, then possibly, but I don't think it's been done yet. Tony Locke, the old London barrel boy, hey, absolute legend. Just recovering. I think he's got to have a couple more stents put in. Finally finished smoking. Nice one, Tony. Don't forget the bow tie. Tony came up. Well, he actually used a match method, a little bit like the punch, but he was using this method called the bow tie up a place called Tea Tree up in Chiang Mai. How you doing, Bruce? If you're watching, and he basically put a bait band on the hook and then opened it up, and pretty much a whole slice of bread or a quarter slice of bread rolled into a cigar, popped onto the band, and then, as he said, fishing the old bow tie, fishing the old bow tie. So nice one, Tony. You had a cracking fish up there that was around 150 pound, absolute storm. I mean, Tubby were down macro buying a beer at that point, and we missed him catching it in the rain, but a bit gutted about that. But I'm sure he'll have another one when he's out very soon. There are monsters in there, mate. At one end, it's 60 foot deep. What's that all about, Libra? I see. I think he's on about the Siamese carp. Jason's question. Bear with me. Not very good on the old technology. Jirawat organ fish. One of the fish dealers in Thailand. Very big business here. There's 4 or 5 of them that buy and sell these specimen fish, and and it's big business, and they do very well. And it's one of the reasons why, when you come to Thailand, you're very often paying anywhere between 100 to 200 and odd pounds for a day's fishing, because some of these fish are incredible amount to buy. The Arapaima, after having a lake myself, I would never go all in for them again, because they can be very fragile. They look like a very hardy fish, but they're not. And again, it's, sometimes you question why these fishing parks are the price they are, but with everything that's provided, and the money that's gone into the fish, and looking after them, it's understandable. And there are some fantastic fishing parks here. I think I would recommend anybody coming out and having a go, whether you're just a pleasure angler, and it's not just the fishing. Thailand's fantastic for its food, its climate. The people are very friendly, and it's just a fantastic place to come and visit. And well, I came and visited 2004, and I'm still here. What time was it? Been here a while, and it's just an absolutely fantastic place. I would never discourage anybody from coming to live here. I think you've got to make sure that you do your sums and work out either you've got enough money to live on, or you can make a bit of money while you're here. But it is fantastic, the freedom you've got. You can rent a room for a couple £100 a month, including your water and electric, and then you haven't got to worry about your council tax and all the other stuff. And it's very possible if you come over and give it a go here. Even in long-term holidays can be very cheap, and fantastic experience. Pattaya is quite interesting, as it's been fairly well documented, and yeah, it's nice to live. We live on the outskirts of it now, so we can take it or leave it. Generally, leave it into the fishing now, so I'll let them carry on down there in town. We have actually been very lucky recently with the whole COVID situation. Speaking to me parents, how they've been in complete lockdown, and it's a pretty desperate situation. We've been very lucky here. We've still managed to stay fishing, and we've had a curfew to deal with, but nothing really much to worry about. We've continued pretty much with our lives. I've actually lost a bit of weight, some of you might have noticed, and bit home cooking, less drinking, no late nights because you've got to be home by 10 o'clock. And yeah, again, we were in the right place at the right time again, and with such a crazy low infection rate, I'm hoping things here will get back to normal, and hopefully a lot of my friends and family will be able to come out and visit without the quarantine situation, and everything will be back to normal. Fingers crossed. Lovely to see everybody fishing back in England again. I see Jason Weimer with a lovely Old English carp there a couple of days ago, and seeing other people just getting out and nets of bream on the canal, and yeah, remembering the days when you get up at 4 in the morning to get first light and catch 12 tench down the canal, and as you're packing up and walking through the gate, somebody's turning up to go fishing, and it's a little bit late. We're off home for breakfast. We got any more questions here? Let's have a look. Steve Williams, Monster Particles, legend. Yeah, absolute legend. Why the £8 braid at Bug Samurai? Now, yeah, no, yeah, it's just such a harsh environment, mate. We just got to gear up for them. Got to gear up for them. Just keep it simple and keep going for them. What else we got here? Come on, give us a message. I mean, what species do you have in Thailand? Well, I sort of covered it a bit, but the Rohu carp are fantastic. There's another one that's called a Marigal carp, and that one is similar to the Rohu, and they're fantastic. Hello, Michael. How you doing? From Bangkok, cracking stuff. And yeah, the fishing on the waggler, on a cage feeder. At the moment, we're fishing matches at Wasana. We've been fishing 3 a week, and it's fantastic. It's probably upwards of 30 species in there. In the match, we do the most species and the biggest fish, and very often you need 7 or 8 species to win it, and there's generally 12 or 13 combined for all the anglers fishing. So you get on a little cage feeder, a little QM1, and £10 hook length, a little bit of bread punch, and it's great fun. The tip's going around, you're catching lots of different species, and it's very, very interesting. Is it true a fishery is given a million baht, 25 grand, for 100 kilo carp? Funny you should say that. Actually, we were down at that was Libra Force Butler asking that one, and we were down at Jurassic the other day, and Jules was telling us that they had to put a bounty out on a fish that size for that money, and hadn't been taken up. So they're either not been found yet, or they are like rocking horse doo-doo. Do you remember your first fish? Oh, nice one, Steve. I do. Well, I think I do. I had a £3 pike down the canal when I was 3 years old. I either remember it or it's been told to me that many times that it's etched in my memory. There's a tree down there with the stump cut off. I was sat on that stump, live minnow, freezing, and a little blue Shakespeare spinning rod with a plastic handle. I think a Mitchell 300 reel. And yeah, that was my first fish. Pike was pretty much my first love, really. I've done a lot of piking. Just down the canal. It was only a 15-minute walk, so often just wander down. And we had a fantastic stretch of the canal there. It was deeper than the rest of it, and it was brilliant. And actually, last year or the year before, I think it was, I had a gentleman walk into the fishing park when I had it, and fellow named Dave Horton. I've been following the pike scene since I left the UK, and he introduced himself, and then his mate told him what he'd done, and we got chatting and agreed on a few things like the moon phases and eel sections and stuff, and fantastic to me, an absolute legend of pike fishing when piking was my love when I was growing up, and of course spent many a day on the river and the canal looking for a £20 pike. I managed three in the end: a £20 8-ouncer, a 22.12, and a 23.6. And yeah, we love the pike. It's a shame the predator fishing out here is very good, but I just don't want to fish for the arapaima because they're so fragile. I've had a couple of nice ones, and the longer you're here and you know how fragile they are, the less you fish for them. So if I was coming out, I'd certainly concentrate on the carp species. I find it more interesting, and there's a wider range of species, and it's more fun. That's right. Oh, that's right, Clive. From Dennis. Yeah. Well, this is Dennis Dixon's just sent a message in saying the matches don't count on overall weight. Now, I mean, we've got a bit of it's a disagreement over this, but again, the fish are just so expensive and fragile. You don't really want to be hauling these fish out. I mean, we used to do total weight. Myself and a match angler called Darren Stock from Manchester, we used to fish a lake called Python, catching the swide, the striped catfish. You'd catch them, put on the scales, weigh them right down on a whiteboard, pop them back, and then count it up at the end. But I don't know. I just think at Usana at the moment, it makes the fishing a bit too one-dimensional, and the most species and the biggest fish, it's nice to do. Again, it seems to go right to the wire most matches, both sections, and mosquito there, and it seems like a decent way of doing it. But I know we'll have future discussions about that, Dennis. I'll leave that for another time. What else we got here? Natural fishing and venues. Cheers, Martin. Natural fishing. Yeah, I mean, Tim Coakley and Tim Webb at Palm Tree will chuckle at that, because they often dig me in the ribs for not doing enough wild fishing here. But the wild fish it's not like the river fishing or the canal fishing in the UK. It's big reservoirs, big balls of bait, and specimen fishing in reservoirs. Really, the wild fishing. There's a bit of snakehead fishing. They're very similar to our pike in a way, quite very aggressive, and catch them on lures and dead baits. We haven't got an awful lot around Pattaya. Our reservoir this year is completely dried up, and we're hoping for a bit of rain to see us through till the the end of the wet season, but we'll see how that goes. A lot of the fisheries are down in water at the moment, and we are desperate for some rain. As are you back there, I believe. Dad said you've only had 2 mil of rain in the last 2 months, so it must be nice to be able to get out and enjoy it now. What else have we got? Thai tackle shop. Yeah, that was a message, a question from Dan, actually, Dangerous Dan. The tackle shops here are sort of quite extensive in what they offer, but totally different to what we're used to. So the floats are totally different, mainly pace floats and foam floats for fishing the ball up in the water. And you've got a nice wide range of hooks, and there's a lot of chin leo fishing, which is a whip, as we would have in the UK, but they're elasticated. And you think, well, that's not very unusual because you very often get elasticated whips, but these ones are actually elasticated on the butt. So when you hook a fish and you feel like it's going to go away from you, you let the whip go, you throw it in the water, and then you play them off the bungee, basically. You play them off a piece of elastic that's on the back of it that's maybe pegged in the ground or under your foot or something. And it's all used to be quite funny at Wilf's when I was fishing away, watching my bomb rod, Tony Locke's Garbolino bomb rod. It'd be chuffed that I mentioned that, which he was very kind to lend to me. I haven't broke it again, Tony, don't worry. And this whip went past my tip. I looked to my left, there's Dan Hastings with a devious look on his face and a load of elastic in his hand. This red-tailed catfish had gone along my bank and up through. He never thought to mention it to me, but it was interesting when yeah, this whip came back into his hands and he managed to land this red tail. I argued it probably should have been disqualified, but over here the rules are quite liberal because the fish are so strong and can go anywhere they want. We do allow people to hook a fish and then leave their swims and land it because it would just cause havoc for sort of large chunks of the match. So we let people wander around and land a fish somewhere else. You know, oh, that's that. Yeah, what else we got here? The tactics, fish at Wasana, yeah, the slop up in the water on the waggler and the ball up in the water. I mean, what I do is fish the cage feeder with about a 12-inch tail, a bread punch, QM1, and then if I'm falling behind on the species, I'll then do the ball up in the water and try and catch a Siamese carp, which they're in there in excess of 60 odd pounds. And you get one of them or a Mekong that's a similar size, you've got a fair chance of winning the biggest fish. But it's good to give yourself a chance. If you're out the other one, abandon that and go for the one which you've got the best chance on. I suppose it's pretty standard match fishing tactics. Clive, nice one. Yeah, I haven't seen Billy for a while. We've got Billy Macon living in Pattaya. He's been here a few years. He's got a couple of bars downtown, the Dragon Bar 2 and the Dragon Bar 1 and Dragon Bar 2, probably. I've seen him for a while. I've been down in town because of everything that's going on. All the bars are still closed, which hasn't really affected me. I've enjoyed the break. And Billy's... well, I expect Billy's he's all right down there. He's, I mean, there is a bit of a worry for most of the business in Pattaya at the moment. The town is based on tourism, and without that, not knowing how long it's going to last, it must be worrying times for a lot of businesses. I know Gary Tupper, absolute legend, who made the 69ers bar on Soy 7. He's had to walk away. Craig told me the other day, which was heartbreaking to hear, put his heart and soul into that for the last few years. And I hope some of the landlords are fair with the tenants and give them a chance to recover from all this, because it's hard to know where it's going to end. Be nice to see Billy again. Actually, saying I met Dave Horton out here, Billy Macon, and also Terry Eustace. Terry's an absolute. Do a bit of name dropping. Absolute legend. We met him up at Palm Tree, got on really well. I know most of his stories now. I've seen him a couple of times. Brilliant stories. Still happy to hear him 2 or 3 times, to be honest. And hell of a character. Actually met him at Palm Tree, and we met him again there. And it was the day after I caught the big carp, which was one of the reasons he flew out to fish Palm Tree. So that's That's didn't cheer him up too much, but I did get him a few beers, so he was happy. Yeah. While fishing around, Russell, I understand you sold your fishing lake castaways. Do you think you'll get another one? Cheers, Clive. You're banging these in nicely. Do you know what? Great question. It was fantastic 3 years. Great experience. Say, met loads of fantastic people. We had some good memories, and I would do it again. I think. Yeah, I think I would. Whiskey soda. It is 8:30. Um, I would probably. I'd like to do a. I'd like to do a match lake and a specimen lake. The specimen lake is the one that you've got to do because that generates some money to make it worthwhile. But the match lake would be closer to my heart. You know, I do miss the skimmers on the pole. Gutted this year, not being able to get back, but a little match lake, big enough, like little canal lake, little snake lake, big enough for 10, 12 anglers. Stock it full of sort of small, lovely species like the Julian's Price golden carp, the black shark minnow, the merigal, the rohu, the Java barb, and just fish people, some common carp as well. Just fish people love to catch it. It'd be a lovely little lake, and it'd be great fun. And you could sort of keep the prices down on that for the expats and generate some money through that. But I can't see it happening in the too near future, Clive. I'd like to see what happens with everything that's going on with the tourism here, and maybe get a few more years under my belt. It might be one of those that you sort of semi-retire doing. I think the first time I done it, I was still a bit wild, and yeah, it sort of affected my relationship with my girlfriend back then. And yeah, it was one of them. It's people's dream to own a fishing park, and the reality is it's not always as rosy. It's hard work. It's almost like a farm. You've got livestock. You've got to make sure they're looked after. You have sleepless nights when the oxygen's low, and there's always problems, and you've got to be there every day, and then you can be careful you don't lose your love for the sport when you're doing something like that. And it'd be nice to have another go, but like I say, maybe in the future. I mean, if anybody's question from Dangerous again, if anybody's up for coming over and are anywhere near Pattaya and want to do a bit of specimen fishing or even match fishing or pleasure fishing, feel free to give us a shout on my Facebook page or the Overrated Angler on YouTube, or the other one. What's the other one? No, there ain't another one, is there? Is there? Yeah, give us a shout, and we're trying to grow the match scene here. Obviously, we've got a limited number of expats that get involved, but it's nice to have 7, 8, 9 anglers for the matches, and hopefully that will grow. The more we just keep going in time. Are you doing coaching or fish guiding on the venues in time? Officially, sort of not doing guiding and fishing or coaching, but if anybody wants to give us a shout when they're coming over, I'd be happy to help you out, or even have a day with you somewhere, and that would be fantastic. I'd love to do that. The the venues here are very close to us. We can travel to most of them in a couple of hours, and yeah, give us a shout. I'd love anybody who's coming out. Give us a shout. What else we got here? I broke some stuff down myself. Yeah, we actually the going back to the matches, we used to fish matches at Freddy's Fishing Park, and there it was so fast, thick and fast with the fish. It's lots of small fish. We actually had a couple of systems there where we measured the fish, was one of them, and recorded the total length for the fish that we caught, and another one was a point system where that's actually on the Overrated Angler video. Different fish are allocated different points. Say because you haven't got a keep net, or there's too many fish really, and they get too stressed out. You've got to come up with different systems to please everyone, which is a little bit of a challenge. Have you thought about doing a golden peg in your matches? I haven't thought about doing a golden peg. Yeah, we'd have to think about that. That's a great idea. Yeah, we could put 50 baht in, just over a quid each time, and do a golden peg. Probably do it on the most species. That'd be a good way of doing it. But yeah, golden peg would be a great idea. Lee Butler. I like this one. What do you think about a soda float? Soda float I was introduced to last week. Never even heard of it before, but everybody seemed to know about it. A bit embarrassing. Basically, it's a float that you plug with ground out or pellets, and it's got a ball that drops down. So as you cast and hits the water, nothing comes out. And then when it uprights, it drops the feed down onto your hook. I love the idea of it. I love the look of it. I think it'll work better at Freddy's, if I'm being honest. The beauty of the ball under the float means that you have some bait there attracting them for much longer. You seem to have a bigger window. With the soda float, I think you would have to cast very, very regularly. And it's possibly, if I'm being honest, trying to reinvent the wheel a little bit. But down at Freddy's, we'll have to have a day down there. We'll Libra Force and use the soda floats. I think it's more closer to your heart with the size of the fish like you used to catch in the UK, and I think it would be brilliant. Libra Force again. Oh, he's keeping me going here. Well done. Best angler of all time. Best angler of all time. I mean, I grew up watching the late great John Wilson. Fantastic, all my first memories watching John going around the world, having a great time, and with that infectious laugh. I grew up watching him, and I'm gutted that never got to meet him, because we were, myself and Tubby, James Rule, we're going to be meeting him at Palm Tree with Terry Eustace, and he couldn't make it, and that was a real shame. I mean, because of the pike, Dave Horton's got to be right up there, one of the best anglers of all time, and not just the pike. He's had a lot of fantastic fish. On the match, I mean, you can't fault Bob Nudd, Alan Scewthorne. I mean, I remember when I was young watching the Sports Personality, and Bob Nudd was always in the audience. Little did everybody know that he had picked up more votes than anyone else and should have been picking up the prize every year, but they didn't deem fishing to be high profile enough to win it. But that's what everybody in the angling community thought of him. What a great angler, and just what seems like what a fantastic bloke. It'd be lovely to meet him as well. Do you think your world record carp will be caught again a bigger way? That was from Clive. Yeah, well, the fish was caught again this year, and in spring. So it was never actually a world record. The records can't be claimed from commercials. So it was sort of deemed as the biggest carp in the world, but it has been caught since. Don't tell anyone. So I'm still riding that one, as far as I can. But nice to get the one at Jurassic to back it up. So it wasn't a complete fluke, as our friend Grit from a Thai angler who we're fishing with tomorrow morning at Bug Samran. He's an absolutely fantastic Thai angler. His nickname for me is Mr. Fluke. The other one I can't repeat. That was Gavin Perfect that was teaching him some bad words, but very amusing. If you have one day to live and could fish anywhere in the world, what would you do? That's Peter Alfred Goodwin there, who I'm again fishing with tomorrow. I'm taking him to Bug Samran tomorrow. I'm going to have a cracking little day on Bungalow 9. If you have one day to live and could fish anywhere in the world, what would you do? Well, that's quite simple, really. I would probably have a day with Dad on probably Viaduct or Chiltern Trinity, on the pole, a lovely summer's afternoon, catching a few skimmers on the pole, and into the evening. I remember the first time I went back, because I used to go back for Christmas, and then I had to go back for Ben Coleman's wedding. It was 40 this year. Benji, what's on? Hope you're listening. Bet you're not. And we were fishing there, and I hadn't been back. I hadn't been back to the UK for 10 years. I think it was 9 or 10 years in the summer. And I sort of sat next to Dad. I said to him, what time is it? Thinking he was going to say it was at 4 o'clock because the sun goes down in Thailand. It's pretty much 6, 7 o'clock every day. And he went, it's 9:30. I just couldn't believe it. It was lovely. You get those lovely long summer's days, catching up with the lads in the beer gardens, having a pint of cider, bit of scrumpy in Taunton with all the boys. And I really missed the trip this year. I'm gutted we won't be able to get back. Maybe get back in September if it all settles down a bit. And it'd be lovely. But yeah, Peter, I think, sat next to Dad on the pole, catching some skimmers. Oh, getting a bit, yeah, that'd be nice. That would, yeah, I miss it. I really do. But the fishing in Thailand's very, very good. It's just a bit different from what we grew up on. After you've had the big Siamese and Arapama, what's the next challenge in fishing? That's from Dangerous Daniel. I don't know really. Next challenge in fishing. I've never really had a challenge. Fortunate to catch those 3 fish that I had in the last sort of year or so. But I think just keep fishing, just keep enjoying it, keep it varied as well. Keep doing the smaller fish fishing, the match fishing, and enjoy yourselves with the odd occasional trip to the big boys and try and catch some of the bigger fish and just enjoy it. We've had a cracking couple of years. We've had a great group of people and we've just enjoyed fishing with each other, fishing hard, catching some nice fish, and then having a bit of fun afterwards, having a few beers afterwards. And I think that's what it's all about out here. It is really a social occasion. Fishing in Thailand is very sociable, and with the climate, it's just lovely all year round. Avoid October, I would though. It's bloody wet. So yeah, no real challenges, Dangerous, or just keep fishing really. I've been fortunate to catch the fish I have in the last couple of years, and yeah, gonna keep going. Great shout, Harvey. That's from Rusty. Cheers, Rusty. I still got a photo of the Siamese carp he had at Bug Samran, the one we call Basher, that was 90 odd pounds. Still got the photo of that one on his profile picture. That's what we like to see. Great memories. That was a cracking day, wasn't it? Do you think the moon phase actually affects the fishing? We are fishing tomorrow near a full moon. What do you think can happen? That's Peter again. Peter AG, Alfred Goodwin, bringing some sausage rolls tomorrow, I believe he is, and we'll be looking forward to them in the afternoon with a cup of tea. Moon phases, I really do believe in them. I remember Dad printing off something called Moonstrike back in the day. And we used to, certainly if we were travelling an hour and a half to the Severn or the Bristol Avon after Barber, we would make sure we were going on a good moon phase when they suggested we should go, just to get something else in your favour. And it breeds confidence in you. And the amount of times there's been a moon rise, a moon set, or a meridian, and it's happened. It's no coincidence. I remember speaking to Dave Horton about it, and he was saying he could only fish a couple of days a month. And I said, do you choose them by the moon? And he said, yes, I believe 31 of his 38 30-pound pike were caught on a new moon, I believe it was. I prefer the new moon. We've had some great sessions at Bug Samran on the new moon. Myself, Tim Coakley, and John Gregory, who I want to say thank you for, he's going to be bringing our poles out. He's been chomping at the bit for a while now. He's supposed to be coming out a while ago, and all this has scuppered his plans. But he's bringing some poles out for us and some bits. That'd be fantastic. Looking forward to fishing with him. And we had a 36-hour session at Bug Samran that started with a 27-pound black pacu on the drop first cast, and it just went absolutely crazy. Hoban's carp, the Rohu carp, lots of Siamese. I had 102, 94. Tim had an 88 and a 92-pound chow fry catfish, 139-pound Mekong catfish for me that fought like a chow fry. It went charging through the water like a submarine. And then right at the last minute, we kicked out the bungalow because they got to clean it before the next lot come in at, I think it was 8:20 odd. Knock on the door. John's rod ripped round, and he had a 92-pound Siamese carp to just finish the section off absolutely perfectly. Me and Tim were driving back in the car, and you've got that fuzzy feeling that you get from just having a fantastic time, and nothing really beats that. And it was just an awesome 36-hour session. That was a new moon, and I'm sure it was a factor. You know, obviously people who argue against it, and fair enough, but I'm going to trust in it and make sure that I keep an eye on it for sure. Tony Locke again, the old barrel boy, little bugger. About time you broke your duck on the big Mekong. Nice one, Tony. Cheers for reminding me of that. On air. Yeah, Nemesis fish. I'd love to get a big Mekong. Dangerous had the friendly at Palm Tree last year. It was over £300. I've lost 2 there after 2.5 hour fights. Second one was one of the worst feelings I've ever had. Luckily, Tubby was there to put his arm around me and give me a beer. 10 minutes hurt, and you're back to it. But and another one was last year. I could have hooked the same carp that I had in July. I had it on for an hour and 40 minutes. Again, just by the net, and the hook just popped out, landed in my hand, walked over, sat in the plastic chair, and Tim Coakley this time, give me a cuddle, cigarette, bottle of Chang. It's 10 minutes of pain, and then you're over it. But yeah, I'd like to break my duck on the Mekong, Tony. I really would. It's got to be Palm Tree, I think. Yeah, we look forward to getting back up there soon, all being well. We'll have another go and go through another 3 hours of pain to actually get that T-shirt. Rusty, has the Mackie D's on the services area at Bampakong Highway got hash browns yet? I believe they do, and they're nice. More questions here.
Do you think Thailand could get a team into the World Championship?
Yeah, I think is that Clive?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting if Thailand did get a team into the Match Fishing World Championships. There are some fantastic anglers here. You know, what you see day to day is some pretty interesting, fairly crude tactics to take home for the pot. But when you go and see the boys that are fishing the professional matches here, there's some matches that are fished for big money, and they are very, very good. They understand. My friend who are fishing for tomorrow developed a bait called fish scale. It's a small, you can use it for ground bait or for paste, mainly for paste, I think. And it's fantastic. It really is. I'm looking forward to bringing a couple of packs back and fishing for the skimmers. Fishing for the skimmers back home. I sort of messed about last year when I was there with a little ground bait punch and a bit of corn on the hook, fairly soft paste, pushed into the middle, then punched out in the pot, and it's amazing. The Clarasso and the small tension skimmers at Pines Lake in Stafford Moor, North Devon, loved it, and I'd like to have another go at that, but this time with the fish scale ground bait. I think it'd be good, and I'll grab some bags of the old gold medal ground baits. I think Dad's ordered some. He's going to give it a crack. Get on the gold medal. What's question for Clive? Wonder if he can answer it. What bait would be best for that? Put in for paste. The gold medal ground bait best for paste, and using wrapped around a bit of corn. Be nice to hear. I say it's lovely to see everybody back out fishing in the UK. I hear it's red hot, and so people are catching some fish. Let's have a look. Apachan Reservoir, or whatever it's called, that big lake on the dark side. Yeah, that one's empty, Rusty. Basically, a real shame. There is some nice fish in there, but it's pretty much dry now, mate. Bit worrying because it's our water source here in Pattaya. Yeah, well, we hope that we're going to get a proper wet season this time. Why do Thai species like Mekong stingrays get so big? Yeah, well, I think I'm not sure about the stingrays and the chow phraya. The chow phraya are very, very aggressive predatory catfish. Look like a Mekong, but they've got pads and very accentuated fins, and they're a very aggressive fish. I imagine they get big because they're just eating machines. The stingrays, maybe because I suppose maybe they get so old in the rivers here. And the Siamese and the Mekong, as I touched on earlier, I think because they're filter feeders, they're feeding 24/7. Hello, Clive says, I already do paste. Tell your dad. Yes, I will do, mate. Yeah, I will get some ordered. Say I'd love to be back in September and have a few goes. Be lovely to have a go. Tony Locke, green method mix for paste. He's already on it. Tony's on the paste already. He loves it. He'll be banging the match wins in and hammering them again once the matches get going. Yeah, he well, sooner it gets back to normal, the better. It'd be nice to get back. It'd be nice to be see people coming back out here, and we'll just carry on our fishing as we go. Actually, it reminds me of there was a match at Castaway when Clive was there, and I was using my Shimano Hyperloop and fishing shallow with the waggler feeding slop. I think I had 6 fish for 130 pounds. It was a 29-pound Chinese big head and Siamese carp between 26 and 32 pound, I think it was, and spent the whole match pretty much playing these 6 fish for 5 hours for about 130 pound, and that's the sort of matches you can have here. And if you're not geared up for them, it's amazing. They can just smash you up. The power of them is incredible. It must generate it from just the warm climate, and their muscles are always ready to go. Clive, have you any matches planned at Freddy's? We haven't at the moment, mate. We've not really been sure what's been happening. We've just been fishing up at Wasana, and with the COVID situation, it's hard to know what's what because everything's in Thai a lot of the time. We're just trying to, be sensible and make sure we don't do anything we're not supposed to do. So we've been, trucking on up at Wasana and having a good time. Are we going to get a match going at Freddy's? That's Libra Force. Yeah, mate. I mean, like I say, I think the best way to fish it there is the point system. Again, there's always going to be discrepancies to the system that you adopt or employ. But the matches at Freddy's are thick and fast. You almost need somebody scoring. Last time we were there for the video we made on the Overrated Angler was Mum was scoring for us. They were over on holiday, and it was great. I was using a little method ball up in the water on a little foam float to form a very small boat rig, and it's so effective. So not too pretty, but very effective. A little bit like myself. Will you have a pole only match at Freddy's when I get to yours? Tony Locke. Yeah, we'll all have poles by then, mate. I'll be up for it. Libra Force has just ordered a pole off Lazada and ended up with a 14-meter whip. Not sure what he's going to do with that. It's going to be interesting. Fishing 14 meters to hand. We'll see how he gets on. It might not do his back any good. But yeah, I know that Tony's brought up that message, brought up that question because he beat me on the pole there last time I fished there, and he probably wants to do it again. I didn't enjoy it too much. I don't like getting beat. But yeah, pole only match will be good at Freddy's, mate. Look forward to that. Any more questions? Come on, give us a question. Any of the boys fishing Bugsamran tomorrow? We'll be on Bungalow 9 tomorrow, Bugsamran. If all the Bangkok boys are up and about, Danny Marion, John Nicholson, Paul, Liam, Mike, yeah, give us a shout, pop in. Ian Watson, he was up there last time. He was on Bungalow 3, a little bit penned in, I think. What was the most weight in a UK match? To be honest, Libra Force, I only fished a few club matches, and it was pretty much only on the canal, and I don't know really, not very much. I would have thought £15–20 I would have thought, but very often you were fishing at a tricky time of the day on the Tiverton Canal between sort of 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning when you'd normally be going home, and fishing through the heat of the day. So it was always a bit difficult, but enjoyable as it is. Some of the harder matches are actually more interesting, and can be won with the some quite low weights at times. Um, but it'd be nice to get back there and have a few matches. I know Clive's been on the Huntsville just recently. He was fishing the Waggler. I've seen it on one of his videos. Lovely to see the Huntsville. Unbelievable to see it looking like the KSD really, with all the reeds lined it. When I lived in Thailand 15 years ago, it was more of a drain. Now it looks more of a natural venue. I believe a few less bream in there than ever used to be. Have you got shares in Wonderloaf yet? What's Wonderloaf? Any ideas? No? I haven't, Tony. No, but I do like my bread, ham sandwich. But no, I do like my punch. I think the the key to fishing in Thailand is cancelling out the weight of the hook, whether that's done with um, a fake piece of corn, buoyant piece of corn, even a bit of float that's been cut off and put onto a hair, even put on the hook. The nutcracker boilies, pop-ups, wafters, anything to cancel out the weight of the hook in Thailand is the way to go. I believe that the fish swim over the top of it and then turn around, and whatever's come up into the form a cloud, they then grab it. There's not that many fish in Thailand. Possibly the tilapia, they're a little bit like a perch with very hard mouths. And the common carp that aren't in that many waters here will be caught on a method feeder. But I do like a longer tail and more of a cloud in the water. And get them competing, get them feeding, get them whizzing about a bit. I think that's the way to go. Even at a place like Bung Sam Ram, where you're fishing with big heavy rigs, fishing with very big hooks, and you're still catching tilapia that are sort of very small, that are picking up the bait. You've literally got to make sure that the weight of that hook is cancelled out and easy for them to suck in primarily. No more matches planned on the Huntsville due to the overgrowth of weed there. Oh, well, bloody hell! That's sorry. Sad to hear, Clive. You think they'd be able to sort that out? But is that the weed on the bed of the Huntsville, or the reeds situation? Why don't the ties allow maggots? Interesting one, that Libra Force. Yep, maggots. I know Clive had a plan to possibly do something with a maggot farm out here, and I think it's a decent idea. The only problem or drawback I see with it is that you probably wouldn't be targeting the local market, because I have used maggots myself, bred maggots myself, and very often when I've used them, the locals see it as not a very good thing to do. They see it as tainting the meat, because obviously most of the fish are eaten, and you're chucking maggots in. They haven't got the same understanding of the maggots, and they just probably just see them eating dead flesh, and that's all they understand. So it's you wouldn't sell them to the locals here. You'd just be targeting the expat market, which would be fairly limited. Now, I'm not sure if it would be a viable sort of route to go down, but that's just my opinion. I might be wrong. Weed choking the venue. Bloody hell, that's amazing. I mean, Huntsville used to be chocolate and weed free. That's amazing, Clive. That's sad to hear, isn't it? You think, well, maybe it's the mild winters and it just doesn't die. I'm not sure, but I used to love fishing at Huntsville. Dad would always feed a fish for the bream, and I'd be on the Waggler and enjoying catching 8, 10, 12 pounder bits down the side. But that's sad to hear. There's some lovely waters up on the Somerset levels with the Huntsville, the KSD, the North Drain, South Drain, Cripps River, the Brew. Lots of fantastic water up there, and yeah, that's not on the Somerset levels. Yeah, it's fantastic fishing, and a lot of it untouched. The river tone, some fantastic bream, carp, and some big pike in there. I thought some big roach in there as well, and that's a lovely little river to fish in the summer or in the winter. We fished fast stretch just below Taunton, quite a lot. Fantastic that is. It's hammering through even without any rain, and you're catching hard fighting chub, roach, dace, some odd grayling and trout. And, I do miss the running water fishing. It's it's alive. You're always active doing something. But we've got to crack on with what we got here. That's the whiskey soda as well. Yeah, that's a nice place, mate. Yeah. Ooh. Well, yeah. If there's any more questions, I might be struggling a bit. I don't know how long I've been talking, but if there's anything else, do you get? There we go. Rusty saved the day. Nice one, Rusty. Do you get worms in Thailand? You do get worms in Thailand, and there's two sort of pretty much different varieties. You get the red worms and the black worms. I'm not sure if that's what they call them here. Might be a Sai Duan is a worm here. Maybe Sai Duan Dang is red. Sai Duan Dam is black worms. But the red ones seem the best. Tony loves his worms. King of Nin, he calls himself, which is the banin is the tilapia, and he prides himself on being able to catch the tilapia on the worm, but like catching the perch in the UK. Cheers, no? And yeah, the worms do work here. I've never really got into them. Again, you can't, unless you've got a little poly ball on or something tipped on the hook. It's hard to cancel out the weight of the hook. Although I probably haven't persisted enough with the worms. And just love the bread. I think the bread catches pretty much everything. You can get trouble with hard fighting red tails that will smash you up on the worm. And when you're fishing a bit lighter, you don't want that. Libra Force again, nice one, Libra. Keep me talking, unless you're bored. Biggest barbel. First barbel was the 7. That was a flooded 7 fishing with my dad and Barry Yendall, who used to fish the 7 a lot and introduced us to it. Stan's water, just above Bewdley. We had some great nights in Stan's, of course, entertainment, 10 quid a night, and you could see why. The first one was there. A canoe went down through, or not a canoe, what they call the rowing boats went down through, and my rod went over, and I shouted over, and turned out it was a barbel trying to take the rod in, not the rowing boat picking up the line. So that was my first barbel, and then we fished the 7 quite a lot, and fantastic. It was a cracking Chinese in Bewdley after your long days fishing. We had one day there where I went down below the town into the shallow water. I said to Stan I wanted some chub. I went down there and got dropped off, and my dad and boss, me boss when I was back in England, Darren Harper, went up into the woods and left me down there. And I looked at this river, and I looked across it. I thought, what am I doing here? I can see every stone in the bottom of this river. This is ridiculous. And I chucked out me maggot feeder with the holes made bigger with the hempen caster. Nothing happened for an hour. I thought, well, this is unbelievable. They're taking the mick here, and they leave me. All of a sudden, I caught this dace. And I thought, well, there is some fish there. And then from then to the end of the day, it was quite a long summer's day. I had 68 pound, 10 ounces of chub between probably a pound and 2.5 pounds. A fantastic day's fishing. I had to go back to Stan's shops 2 or 3 times to get packets of hooks because I was getting blunted on as the feeder was bouncing down for the rocks. And then when my dad and my boss came back, I had 68.10. I think Dad had 68.10. He had 10 barbel, 4 chub, and Darren had 14 barbel and a few chub for 68.8. It was 2 ounces between us all. That was a good moon phase as well, if I remember. But then we moved on to the Bristol Avon, and that was where I had my biggest barbel. Bristol Avon at Limpley Stoke. I had one 10 pound, 10 ounces. I remember we went a couple of times, and I was getting bites. Nothing was happening. I kept saying to Dad, I'm getting bites. The barbel were nibbling at it. They're not having it. He kept saying, that's small fish. You'll know when it's a barbel bite. I went below this disused bridge, lovely pool, a little bit extra water on it. I threw a few lumps of paste in, and I had a pellet with a bit of paste wrapped around it. I remember kneeling down with the line between my fingers, and all of a sudden it just went bang. I was like, whoa, what was that? That was different. It's like a bass bite when you're free lining in the gullies up around Ilfracombe. And it just went set off and hooked this fish. It wasn't the most fantastic of fights actually, but it was quite a reach down with the landing net on your own, and you go running up through the field shouting, and yeah, £10, 10 ounces. We took Tubby there. Tubby, one of the luckiest anglers you'll ever meet. I'm not lucky. He just just happens to him, and he loves it. He had one £12.10, £12.8 at the same stretch a little bit later on, which was the biggest barbel I've ever seen. Not long after that, we sort of moved out here, so I haven't done so much barbel fishing since when I go back. I don't really get a chance to do the barbel fishing. No, never fished the River Ken in North Somerset, Rusty. No, never fished this one. I say that was me. Rod flew past me head. But I touched on the bass fishing there. When I was quite young and there was fish in the sea, we used to have a boat at Watchet Harbour and done a fair bit of sea fishing, shore fishing to begin with. It was quite young, and we used to catch cod off the shore when they were in the Bristol Channel, around Watchet, Minehead, Hinkley, Shirton, Lilstock. Cracking times up there at Porlock, Bossington. Bass fishing in the summer. Dad used to have 1,500 crab pots in the estuary down there at Powderham Castle. My first pocket money was going down and picking up crabs, of 10p a crab. Back then I think I got 5p a crab, but that was my first pocket money, wading around in the mud. And then we had fantastic bait for when we had to go fishing, and always had a very good chance up around Ilfracombe. We fished the Ilfracombe Festival. I'm not sure if it's still going, but that was a fantastic festival. I was lucky to have a £4, 13 ounce Ballon Wrasse to win the junior section on that one year. That was a good memory. Lovely up there, the bank holiday weekend in August. And yeah, just fantastic. The sea fishing was very good. It's not so good here in Thailand, to be honest. You could go out on the boats from Pattaya. There is some sea fishing here. Probably cost you about 40, 50 quid, something like that for a day's fishing. You get queenfish, barracuda. There are some cobia, possibly some king mackerel and some other stuff. It's not somewhere I would head. If I was coming to Thailand to do the sea fishing, I'd probably go down on the Andaman Sea, down around Phuket and Krabi, where there's probably some better sport fishing in the Indian Ocean. The Gulf of Siam's not as rich in food, I don't think, which is why they're not that prestigious here. I had £30 of bloody great roach. That was Rusty's words, not mine. Just below Bewdley cricket pitch once. 18 fish for £30. Whew. Bloody hell. That's a hell of a catch, Rusty. Hell of a catch. Wow. I'm not sure how far below Bewdley. I suppose it's Worcester cricket pitch, is it? Cricket ground would be. Yeah, how far below Bewdley is that? We've had some lovely days trotting on the Severn. That's in the summer, fantastic. Biggest roach. Wow. Biggest roach, £1, 13.5 ounces on a river calm, and biggest tench, 6'4" out the canal. Everyone you bumped into had a £2 roach or an £8 tench or a £25 pike. It's funny because there was no photos and nobody carried any scales, but incredible what people catch when they're not carrying any scales. It's nice to get a number on it. Ireland, fishing in Ireland. Yeah, done a nice little bit of fishing in Ireland. We've got relatives over in Ireland, and we've had some fantastic memories over in Ireland when I was quite young, fishing the Inny Bay where it goes into Lochary. We tried to hit it right there when they were coming out to spawn a few times, and one year we got it right, timed it just right, and the weather was perfect. And about £86 a roach on the first day, trotting down near the mouth of the loch itself, and then we went further up and had £112 of roach big hybrids and a few bream, trying to stick float at 14 foot deep. Just dreamy, absolutely fantastic. I went on another stretch, I think that was on the Yinny, where the roach were spawning, and it was just flowing like, the Severn in flood. It was about 3 foot deep and just tanking through. But started feeding, started catching these roach, and it was full of them. And every now and again, you'd hook a bream, and they'd take you downstream that fast. I actually went over 2 sort of natural weirs with a bream on, and managed to get him in an eddy in the end, chasing bream down through the river. That was an interesting experience. Good fun though. 25 pegs below the town bridge. Cool. I tell you what, Rusty, that can't be far away from where I had those chub, mate. I wouldn't have thought. I mean, you've got the bandstand, fished on the bandstand. Everybody watching you from off the bridge. You don't want to lose a fish there. Yeah. But you get a round of applause when you do get one in, which occasionally would happen. Yeah, you can't have been that far away. Riversford Road section. Is that where Rusty means? Rusty. I don't think you can see Carl Ward's message there. How you doing, Carl? You all right, mate? I don't know where that is. Probably opposite Riversford, Carl. Yeah. I don't know much about this. I'll let you boys chat. But no, Ireland was fantastic. I used to stay out there with our relatives, and Phil and Dan and Naomi, and we had some fantastic times out there. Absolutely brilliant. Cracking bacon sandwiches first thing in the morning on a great big thick cut loaf, and off for the day fishing. Come back to a big pile of sort of boiled ham, cabbage, and new potatoes with parsley sauce. One of my favourite meals. Mum always does it for me when I go back to England. Miss that one. Cracking stuff. But shout out to Clive. Thanks. We are here with our family. Yes. Libra Force Butler. A shout out to Clive. Methinks we are here with our family. Me, and he has a little girl to get back to. Oh, I see. Yeah. But Clive's got his own family here now, and hopefully he'll be able to come back soon. I don't know when you're hoping to come back, Clive, but I hope it's soon. We can get a bit of fishing done. Brilliant to see the ground bait taking off, and you know, getting a nice lot of coverage and enjoying yourself back there. It's absolutely fantastic. Yes, below Bewdley by the cricket field, I think. 30 years since I've been there. Well, it changed a bit by now. There was a fair bit of flooding over the winter there this year. It was it was pretty crazy to see the images from over here, remembering where you were fishing, seeing those floods. Oh, that doesn't happen again. Oh, cracking bit of whiskey, that is. Cracking bit of whiskey. Do you think that my slapping method will work for the big dog eaters at Teak Tree? That's Tony Locke. I'll have to decipher that. That's not Cockney rhyming slang, but it might as well be. Slapping method. So I think what he's trying to say is put a big dead bait on, big bit of chicken or something, and keep casting it out, and try and get some noise into the water for the big dog eater. Is a big Chalpraia catfish. Those very predatory catfish, which are very big in Teak Tree. John Oakley, who introduced us to Teak Trees, had some absolute belters, along with Arapama, and also very big tambaki. I had a tambaki there that would have been about £45 on half a partridge. Didn't expect that. The tambaki's very similar to the pacu. They're all piranha family. They should be vegetarian, but I'm not sure how long partridge has been a fruit, and they become very predatory when they leave the South America, leave the Amazon area, and they'll have the lot. Fantastic fish. They're just solid muscle and just power, but you do get bit off by them if you're not geared up, or they swallow it back a little bit. Time, get a team in, so you could be captain. That's funny. I spent 3 days fishing at Portomna in Ireland. Caught one perch. and that was on a spinner. Yeah, we've had similar experiences in Ireland. It can be, well, it's a lot of water, and the fish can be somewhere else, and there's not much you can do. I know what you mean, Rusty. When I was very young, we went there, and we were in a little dock on the Shannon, catching little jacks and perch on the spinner, but anything else was very difficult. I was quite young and didn't know an awful lot about it. And another place it'd be nice to get back to, and I remember the last time we were there, we fished the River Suck, and we're getting cut off by the zebra swan mussels. The line was laying across them, and cutting us off, and we had to move. We moved up a little bit further, and I remember catching roach steady, and this pike kept nailing the roach. I thought, oh, sod this. I stuck me pipe rod out. Took a roach out of the keep net, popped it on, and even before it hit the surface, this pike leapt out of the water and grabbed it and went off so fast. Before I'd even had a chance to sort myself out, I actually snapped the handle off my Mitchell 300 reel. I'm a bit gutted about that, and that one was interesting, trying to hand line it in like you're fly fishing, because you didn't have any handle on the reel. But that was an interesting vibe. Paco, Keith Arthur have the same teeth. No comment. I don't know. Paco, yeah, they are. Yeah, they're fearsome. Like I say, they should. Their teeth should be used for breaking nuts, but over here they just go for everything, and it's very, very interesting. You don't want too many in there. I probably put a few too many into castaway when I first stocked it, and they can become a bit of a dominant species. But they're actually really good eating. I know I shouldn't say it, and I'm not a massive fish eater myself, but they are pretty good, deep fried. The Thais over here know how to cook a good fish. Actually, the food here is fantastic, to be honest. And yeah, we had a couple of them. They were overrun to start with. Any up and coming trips? Well, we've got a few things to do, really. I'd like to get myself up to Palm Tree, Teak Tree, Jurassic, and Bugs and Ram. We're loving it there at the moment. The potential of what you could catch in there might not be the same as what you would at the sort of the Western Run venues, the more well-known venues, but it is hell of a challenge, and it's a cracking day. You can drive there and back. It's only about an hour and 3/4. Unless you do it the way we done it the other day, then it's a little bit longer. But that's Google Maps. Don't always trust her. No, she sent us on a wild goose chase, and we didn't even find any goose for the juice. But yeah, Bugs and Ram, fantastic lake. Looking forward to that tomorrow. Fishing with the Thai legend, Oz Smith. I don't know if he's listening. I doubt it. And Peter Alfred Goodwin, who's got his sausage rolls coming along with him, which will be lovely. Dennis Cross brought down a lovely fruit cake the other day. Dan wasn't not keen on fruit, which is a bit strange. Yeah, because he's a bit nutty. Did you think you need a degree of fitness to tackle the big Thai fish? Great question, Tony. Great question. Especially after you've just had some stents put in and you've got a new lease of life. Oof. I would say yes. I mean, it's a long day. If you come here and do the fishing yourself, sometimes at these venues, a lot of it can be done for you, as much as or as little as you want normally. But I like to go for it. I like to have a really good go, be active, and it is a long day. You are shattered, and then you've got to cope with the 7 or 8 Chang beers or half a bottle of whiskey afterwards. Get up early and do it again the next day, and then the next day. It is a bit of an endurance test, and I think you certainly do need it. when I'm somewhere like Jurassic or Teak Tree or Lex, I do like to have one rod with the big method ball up in the water, and then either throw in slop around it or spomming liquid lum or the slop around it. That creates a splash and a great big cloud in the water, and I think it really gets them in. You're ringing the dinner bell, and it works really well. Uh, at heart, I'm a match angler or someone who likes to sort of make things happen and work for it. But in the last couple of years, I've sort of slowed down a little bit, and it might be the reason why I've caught the bigger fish. Fishing with Tim Coakley, who's done a lot of carp fishing in the UK, and a lot of fishing out here where you're setting traps effectively. Since I've adopted more his style, certainly on one of the rods, I've had the two biggest carp I've ever had, and the Arapalm. The Arapalm was a bit of a lucky one. That the other ones were anyway, but we'll gloss over that, forget that. But yeah, you've got to gauge. You've got to gauge when you go to these big waters. You've got to gauge what you want to catch, and set your stall out. Maybe you want to catch one or two big fish if you're there for 3 or 4 days, or maybe you want to catch a lot of fish that are still fantastic fish, 50, 60, 70 pound Siamese. And for that, you've got to work for them. But if you do want to catch the odd big fish, then I think you've got to slow down your feeding a bit. I think very often I was feeding when I shouldn't have been, and possibly scaring the bigger fish away, or putting too much feed in and gathering too many smaller fish, which was putting the bigger fish off. I certainly, having one rod a bit more quiet, has earned some bigger fish. If you're coming here and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to Gillam's, I'm going to Palm Tree, I'm going to Lex, I'm going to Teak Tree, I need to do this, this, and this. Try to just keep an open mind. Do what they tell you to do, really, on a lot of the basis. Adjust it a little bit if you've got a couple of ideas, but try not to overcomplicate it. Try not to stick loads of components in your rigs. Try not to be too inventive with your baits. Very often, whatever they're using on the lake is whatever the fish are eating. So at Palm Tree, they'll be on the bread and the lum, and at Jurassic, they'll be on fish meal. And if you stay fairly close to that and just hone it a little bit, you'll probably do better than. I've made the mistake. You go to places, you think, oh, I'll whack a load of fish meal in here. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll boil up 20 kilos of maize, and it's usually bites you in the ass. You're better off just keeping it simple and sticking to a fairly ordinary plan, but just doing it right. Don't try and chuck too far, and then it's easier to make sure that you're grouping your bait better, and just keep plodding away, really. Hey, another John Harvey. All right, John Harvey, how's it going? So you're the better looking of the two. Well done on the art. But do you think you needed? Oh, that was Tony's. Yeah. So yeah, it's. I wouldn't say if you're really out of shape, you need to get in the gym. But if you're on a fish for a couple of hours, maybe 3 or 4 hours in some cases, it's. Yeah, you've got to set yourself up. Your stance for when you're playing the fish is important. Make sure you part your legs and don't keep yourself too square on, because you end up using your lower back like Dangerous did last year on the friendly, and he broke his back. But you've got to split your legs and make sure you rock back as you're pumping. You're actually using your legs more than your back. You keep your back straight and look after yourself, because you could be on that fish for a long time. So yeah, fishing the bigger waters in Thailand is very interesting, especially if you're coming and fishing for a limited time on holiday. I know what it's like. You just want to try this, try that, and you end up. And at the end of the day, you haven't had an awful lot, and you think, I probably should have just kept it a bit more simple. By all means, work hard with the feed, but actually. Down with the end tackle and the feeder, just keep it fairly simple. Keep it very simple. Harp, same as eels. Yeah, I suppose they are similar in their biology. They've got a dorsal fin that pretty much runs the length of the body, and they can swim backwards. But as I mentioned before, as a fishery owner, they are an absolute nightmare. They die very, very easily, and through no fault of your own very often. Um, I shouldn't really say it, but if I was coming to Thailand, I wouldn't. I'd try and catch maybe one or two, get the photos, but concentrate on the carp fishing. It's more interesting. It's better for the fishery, and I think once you've got a couple of photos of them, you've done it. And see if you can get one of those big mekong. I'd like to get one. I'm not sure if I ever am, but I'll keep trying. I might get one tomorrow at Bung Sam. You never know. They're in there, and we're fishing with a chap who does guarantee a very, very big mekong if you go with him 2 or 3 days. So maybe we'll pick up some tips from him tomorrow. Look forward to seeing how he's fishing. I don't think Dangerous got any more questions. Well, I think I probably bored you for long enough, and I'm running out of ideas a little bit. I don't know if Clive cuts in here or I just cut it off. I'm not sure, but I hope I've not been too boring for the last hour and 35 minutes.
Leave comments. I'll come back and answer your questions afterwards.
Yep, Dangerous Dan's on the ball. If you've got any questions or any comments that you'd like me to answer, then it'd be fantastic to hear from you. And if you're out in Thailand, give us a shout. And if you get the opportunity, come out and give it a go. It's some great fishing, and it's just a great vibe. Great vibe. We have a good time, and we'd try and make sure you did too. If you've got the chance and you want to see a few videos, check out the Overrated Angler Thailand on YouTube. The old subscribe vibe, and that'd be much appreciated. It's early days. Dan's going to do one for our trip to Jurassic, which we had the other week, and hopefully that one will be up soon. We've got Meow here. I'm going to say goodbye. No, not very proactive. But thanks ever so much for watching. Cheers for all the comments and questions, everyone. And catch you soon, innit? Keep fishing, keep enjoying yourselves, and keep the vibe alive. Cheers, Ed.